Hello and welcome to our live Q&A special Halloween edition webinar where the co-founders of REI Pro, Chris Goff and Bo Manry, answer your most pressing questions. Now each week, as a benefit to our REI Pro members, they send in all their questions and we get a chance to answer them live. And I'm sure you're going to have questions tonight, so go ahead and open up the Q&A panel. Be ready to ask any questions you have, because after we answer those questions that were sent in, we will be taking live questions. Heck, we may even be throwing in some treats and some horror stories along the way. And my name is Bo Manry, and on this webinar tonight, we're joined by my business partner, Chris Goff. Chris has been in real estate since 1997. He has been educating people all over the globe for the past 20 years. And in that time, Chris has also become a 3-time best-selling author, an executive film producer, and has been seen on many TV networks. So welcome to the webinar, Chris.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm like so sad because I could not find the perfect Halloween costume. Man, I wanted to find it. We could not find it all day today. So I do apologize for that. But I love being here. Let me tell you, Bo, these sessions that we do, I can tell you, has made thousands of dollars for those that actually attend and participate in these sessions. And we appreciate you guys doing that so much. It's one of those benefits that we provide here at REI Pro. I think the tool is one thing and the education is the other, and you have to have both to really do well. Now, if you're just joining us and you're not an REI Pro member, we definitely encourage you to go out to our website at myreipro.com and you can sign up for a free trial. I can tell you this system and education is going to help you build wealth in real estate, period. For those of you that are members, we are offering our 50% off postcard printing sale, and that's going to end on Saturday, so at midnight Eastern time. So definitely want to get your mailers out. I hear so many times, Chris, is this a good time to actually send mailers? And I'm like, absolutely. I couldn't tell you how many big deals we've done between November and the end of the year. And so definitely want to get your mailers out. It's going to be, you may be shocked on how much business you can generate during this time. Now, again, I apologize not to have my Halloween uniform, but we're going to have a wonderful evening. It's going to be extremely educational. Like Bo said, we have a few things that we want to give out to you guys tonight. And I love the costume though that Bo's got. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Hey, I've had this for 15 years, bought right in from Prague. First time I get to use it.
Yeah, what do you got in that thing?
I'll never tell.
All right, so let me just tell you, a lot of people submitted more than one question. I only took just the first question that you submitted. If you have a lot of questions, you might want to consider personal coaching. That's really going to be your best route. You can always reach out to us to learn more about that at coaching@myreipro.com. You could just email us. I think Bo will put that in the link for those that need that additional help. And although we would love to answer everyone's question multiple times, we just want to pay respect for your time and everybody else on here. So we did limit it to just one question that you did ask. So with that being said, I think we should just give away something now.
I think so.
Do you know who the first person that came on tonight? Do you know?
I do. And the name is Reginald Jackson.
Reginald. Is Reginald still on? That would be awesome. Because we're going to send you, if you can see it right there. This is a book that me and Bo did with Larry King, became bestseller. And we would love to ship that out to you. So in order to get it, all you have to do is just email us. You can email us at coaching@myreipro.com. Of course, your name and address, and we'll get that shipped out to you. So with that being said, congratulations. And let's get this party started.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so the first question comes in from Jose, and it's a general question. When executing a contract with the seller, you say to have a lawyer look at it to make sure that you can further proceed. Do title companies do this and make any adjustments to it after it has sent over to them with the affidavit and any other addendums?
Yeah. Hey, Jose. And, thanks for submitting your question. Yes, you should always have an attorney review your contracts prior to using them. Now, most of the deals you do, you're only going to have this done once, right? So once your contracts are good, you can be able to use them multiple times over. So that part's a good thing. Now, some title companies actually will prepare the contracts, but my recommendation, as always, is you need to find a good local real estate attorney that really has more experience dealing with not just a standard contract, but some of the other creative financing contracts. And again, I always like closing my deals with the attorney as well. So, but they can handle, several things from a title company point of view. But I really do personally like, having that one attorney that can do multiple different strategies and types of contracts. So hopefully that helped them. Oh, you on mute? You muted yourself.
I muted myself.
That's all right.
I got this thing over here talking to me. All right, Latanya, general question. I work third shift so I can be in attendance. I have leads from Driving for Dollars and I have searched them with your software, but now I'm stuck on how to move forward. If the property is worth it, what are the procedures I look at to move forward? Have I checked the equity and market, or I have checked the equity market value? Some are foreclosures, some are vacant and occupied. I need help.
I figured let me show you exactly what I do, especially after going out, driving the streets, pulling up properties, writing them down, bringing them in REI Pro. What do we do with this? Bo, if you wouldn't mind going to the software real quick, and I want to show you these steps in order because I could see how something like this could be confusing for a lot of people. It's like, okay, now what? The very first thing is I'll gather my list from Driving for Dollars and I go to Quick Lookup. It's the very first thing that I do. It's one of the most popular things that we have in REI Pro. And then I'm going to start typing out one of the addresses. You could just 6223 Bayonne. You could just use that one as an example. So let's say that this was one of the properties that I was doing a drive-by. Now, the very first thing that I'd like to look at is the very first line. Is it vacant? Is it owner occupied? I really want to know, is this property just maybe it looked vacant, but somebody actually lives there? Trust me, I have done that. I have literally called people, said, yeah, my name is Chris. I was calling about that trashed house on Happy Street. And they're like, we live here. And I'm like, whoop, wrong number, and hang up. So, obviously you want to follow the phone script, but the first thing I want to do, is it owner occupied? Does the owner actually live there or not? Because you could see how strange it would be for you to call someone that lives in the house, right? They live there. They have no for sale sign. They have no intention of selling, and you're communicating with them. So I do like to look at that. If it shows that they don't live there, then I want to go ahead and save that to the properties, but you don't have to do that, Bo, because I want to talk about some of the number side here. I would save it to the property section. And then usually what I'll do is I'll go ahead and set a status on that. So like I need to do something with it, because if you're out driving, you probably put several leads together at one time. So what I'm going to do is go through each lead, and then I'm going to go back and say, okay, now what am I going to do with it? So a few things that I do look at, but again, this is not very important stuff, because at the end of the day, if you found a property that maybe doesn't have a for sale by owner sign, it's not listed for sale, it appeared to be vacant, you're wondering if they're interested in selling, there's really only a couple of things that you can do at this point. The numbers really won't matter. And although I think we try to get into, what's it worth? What's the potential equity of the property? At the end of the day, I know from me, myself, that I can go in and pay cash. I can go in and pay the seller full price. I can change the strategy. I just need to understand, do you want to sell? And that's really all I look for. Now, if you're just wholesaling real estate, you would need to look at potential mortgages that are on the property, potential equity in the property. You don't want to research a home that they just bought it 6 months ago and they have a high mortgage, because you have to get it at a discount price, and you're never going to get it at a discount price because they have a mortgage that's higher than what you could offer. But I know maybe if I do the lease option strategy, that could be one way as well. So for me, I go into it just, hey, what's your situation? What's their motivation? And at this point, we don't even know if they're interested in selling. So I don't really pay attention too much to any of the numbers. Now, is it nice to see that they have equity? Sure. Is it nice to see they have a low mortgage? Sure. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't determine, should I pursue this deal? Okay. So if I know, number one, that they don't live there, maybe it's vacant, maybe they're in between tenants, maybe there is a tenant and it just looked vacant, right? I still want to pursue this. Now, there's only really two things you could do at this point, or two things that I do. Let me just say it that way. Number one, I could call them. I could research their phone number, do a skip trace, and I could call them, follow step two, follow the phone scripts. Hi, my name is Chris. I was calling about a property I saw at 123 Happy Street. It appeared to be vacant. I was just curious to see if you'd be interested in selling it. That's kind of just the initial question. And sometimes that may be shocking to people just because they don't have a for sale sign. Like, why would you be calling me? You just got to be nonchalant. Like, hey, I was just in the area. I do buy properties, just happened to notice it may be potentially vacant, thought you might be interested in selling it. It's almost like, don't make it a big deal like you're calling. Okay. I have gone through so many different scenarios that, the first time I was like, oh, would you please show me the property? Like, if I could just go look at it, then I learned, no, then I'm wasting time. And then sometimes, I would go, hey, you looking to sell or not, and that's kind of very forceful. And I've just learned, look, try to be calm and just find out, hey, would they be interested in selling? It's no big deal. That's one way of doing it. The second way to do it is we have to get some marketing out. So I could put it in a direct mail campaign. I can also print a letter. Okay. So Bo, if you wouldn't mind, just cancel out of that, go to any property and go to step two, because I can tell you when I first got started, this is all I did. I literally went down. I said, back then you really couldn't find phone numbers, but if you go to the print letter, Bo, you can literally print a letter. So my favorite letter to send out is the property owner letter. So it's the very bottom one. If you like our lingo, you can just print the PDF. You can also download the Word document if you want to change anything in there as well. That's all I did. So I would send this letter out. Now we're in 2020. We could do a lot of things with it, right? So I could put it in a big campaign, send postcards out. I can print letters off the computer. I could get all my leads that look probable and do bulk skip trace, just knock it all out at once and start calling them. There's several things that you could do, but at the end of the day, what direction are we going in? So I find a property, multiple properties. I come back to REI Pro. I do a quick lookup. I see if they live there or not, or if it's owner occupied or not. If that looks good, then I go ahead and either call them or I do direct mail. That's it. And then I let that take care of itself, because I should be doing other things like finding more deals or working with my buyers or whatever else I'm doing. I want that to work for me. Okay. I see so many people, they just like dive into these numbers and they overanalyze something that they don't even know if the seller even wants to sell at this point. So we don't want to confuse, people out there that says, look, we have all this great information, but do you know if they want to sell or not? And we don't know until we actually talk to them or they call us back. And that to me is the starting point. And now, once they do, now I can click on phone scripts and start working the deal. Those phone scripts right there are going to help walk you through the conversation to determine, are they motivated? Do they want cash? Are they open to terms? should I even move to step 3, which is going to look at the property? So that was a long answer for 3 basic steps, but I want you to understand that don't make this complicated. Too many people just make it so complicated. And if you just kept doing that one thing, something's going to pop up. Someone's going to say yes. Next time, I always remember, oh my gosh, what happens if someone calls me? That was like the whole point, right? And it was like, I talked to him, I was like, that wasn't so bad. Oh, no, no, no. Now I got to go look at the property. I don't even know what I'm looking for. So I'd go to the property and then I'd fumble through it. And I really learned to build a relationship. And I was like, no, I got to make an offer. I don't even know how to make an offer. I don't even have a realtor to give me comps. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I just guessed. And then I guessed, right? And I was like, oh, no, no, now I got to put it under contract. I was scared every single step of the way. And then after I got through the first deal, I was like, what the heck was I so scared about? I was like, all I got to do is just go do it again. But it all starts with kind of these initial steps on, when we drive for dollars, we accumulate a list. Now, okay, what do we do with it? And really, it comes down to you need to talk to the owner. You can do that by phone. You could do it by, obviously, you could email in some other ways. But to me, it's either phone or direct mail. So I hope that helped everybody actually out there on what those steps are.
Well, it's funny because I would say, Chris, that definitely the scariest part when you're first getting started is picking up that phone, calling the seller, because I was more worried they're going to ask me a question that I don't know the answer to. I think that was the scariest part.
Yeah, here's the good thing, and I tell my students this: they're just as nervous as you are, and they don't even know what to ask you, actually.
What's not even that? What happens if you don't even call them and they got a house for sale potentially, and it's like they're not even getting any calls? I had that one time with a lease option deal. She threw this fancy open house for the realtors, and nobody showed up because realtors didn't want to show up to a for sale by owner, situation. And she was just happy I showed up and I built that relationship. So,
right,
need to call.
Exactly. It's overcoming the fear, right? So it's that fear of the unknown, and it's so funny. People are like, yeah, I know, but they hold themselves back so much, yeah, but what if this goes wrong? Yeah, but what if they ask me that question? Yeah, but what if this and what if that? Nobody ever says, what if I get rich? Nobody ever asks that question. That's always, what if this goes wrong? And sometimes we just got to change the way that we're thinking about things. So, but that fear,
right.
that fear,
with
the false evidence appearing real, right? We got to get rid of that fear, right? And look, you're always going to have some fear, but you just can't let it hold you back. You got to keep plugging through, because you got to think about who are you doing it for. Sometimes that will help you.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah. So yes, we're done.
All right, let's see here.
So I want to tell you guys a quick horror story, because, we are close to Halloween, and this is a personal story of mine. It's a little embarrassing, but I still laugh at it. It's funny. I mean, I was a nervous wreck on this deal here. So let me set this deal up. So I actually bought this house. My father's wife had passed away. My parents been divorced since I was a little kid. And his wife passed away, and I wanted to get a house that was kind of close to him, help support him. And there was this house right here that you see. And I called the owner just as much. I looked it up, right? But we had to do it old school way. There was no REI Pro back then. And I called the owner and I said, this is weird. I said, would you be interested in selling the house? And he said, no. And I don't know what hit me, but I said, would you consider seller financing the house to me? He said, oh yeah, I'll do that. Now, a lot of people would go, well, what's the difference? You either want to sell it or you don't. He just didn't want to take the cash, because he would have had to pay a bunch of capital gains on this property, because he was just using it as vacation property. This property, if you can't see on the other side of the house, it's on a golf course. It's a country club. And to the left behind those trees is actually a lake. Okay. So he was using this as a vacation property. He didn't want to sell it, but he would sell or finance it. So I was like, okay. So I sell or finance this house. I put 5 grand down on this deal, and I stayed up there, took care of some basic stuff. And then I headed back. At that time, I was living in Florida. So I said, okay, what am I going to do with the property? I said, well, I'm going to lease option the property. So I ran an ad in the paper. That's what you did back then. And I got this lady that wanted to do a lease option on it. It's like, great. She moved into the property with her family. And after about 30, it was the first 30 days. Guess what? No check. I had to call her and I'm like, hey, you owe rent. And she's like, Chris, I know I've just been struggling and, it's been hard. And I'm like, you just moved into the house. And so you just don't even have the next month's rent. I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you. She finally sends it to me. 2 months later, my dad lives in the area. He calls me and he's like, Chris, I'm not sure if you know this, but the people in your house, they have cars on blocks in the backyard. Now, keep in mind, straight behind the house is the 12th green of this country club. And to the left of the carport is the 13th tee box. This house is literally on the golf course. So everybody in a golf cart driving by seeing these cars up on blocks. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm calling her and I'm like, look, you can't have cars on the blocks. You got to look, it's not a country club, right? You got to take it down, remove the cars and all that good stuff. She's like, okay, let me talk to my husband. We'll go ahead and do that. 6 months later goes on. She calls me and she says, Chris, I've got some really bad news. And I said, what is it? She said, we're going to have to move. I said, oh, when you leave it? Like, I'm excited at this point. She goes, well, we're thinking of leaving next weekend. We have a U-Haul and some family coming over to help us move. And I'm like, hey, do you need any help? Like, I will go up here and help you get out of the house. Cause it's been a train wreck the entire time. Right. And of course she knows that she's not getting her deposit back. Right. Cause I always do non-refundable deposits on it. So I'm driving all the way up here because now I've got to check out the house. I got to, make sure everything's good. And then I got to figure out what am I going to do with this property now. So the entire time I'm driving up there, I'm like a nervous wreck. Like, oh my gosh, what happens if the house is damaged? And I'm like, because it's been awful the entire time. So I get up there and the U-Haul's in the driveway and they were almost completed moving everything out. And I was like, okay. And I took just a general look around. It was just getting dark. Everything looked good. So I go down the street. I have dinner with my dad. Okay. I say, hey, I'm going to head back to the house. I need to start putting a list of things, together that, get the house ready to go again. And this is where it went nuts. So I go back to the house. Okay. I open the door and I turn the light on. There were cockroaches everywhere, like all on the walls. And I remember going over to the thermostat and they were crawling in and out of the thermostat and the kitchen and the stove. And I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh. I fly down to Walmart like really fast. And I go get a 12-pack of those bomb sprays. And I go in there and I'm like, oh my God, they're still here. And I just bombed the heck out of that house. Like you would have died if you were to walk in, how many of those bombs that I put in there. So I stay at my dad's house and I get up the next morning and I'm like, okay, let me go check out the house. And there were a ton dead, but man, they were still all over the place. Like I'm freaking out. Like I wash my hands like 20 times a day. Like I'm very anal when it comes to this kind of stuff. You could even ask Bo, when we go to a restaurant, how I open the door, it's like, this is just not me. I'm freaking out. And I was like, I'm going to have to call an exterminator. I need to call some experts. And experts came over and they said, Chris, we have this new special gel. You're just going to have to be out of the house for a couple of weeks. And I'm like, I don't care if I'm out of the house for 2 years at this point. Like, I don't even know if I'm coming back at this point. So after a couple of weeks, I came back up. Thank goodness everything got cleaned and everything was taken care of. And then I'm driving back the second time now back to Florida. Man, I've got this pain just like around my waist area. Like, man, it just hurt. And my wife's like, you're going to the doctor. And I'm like, no, I don't go to doctors or dentists. You know, I've never broken a bone before. Like, I don't know. That's not good. So I go into the doctor's office and they're like, oh, you have a hernia. And I'm like, okay, what is that exactly? He's like, it's no problem. You come in, it's a day in, day out. We just have to cut 3 small incisions in you. I'm like, no, stop right there. You're not cutting open anything at this point. You know, I'm freaking out. And then I go have the surgery and they put you on the stainless steel table, butt naked. I'm freezing to death, scared shitless basically at this point. And they start to put the amnesia, you know, and they're going to put you to sleep. And she says, count back from 100. And I'm like, 100, 99, 98, 97. I get to 94 and I looked at the nurse and I said, I don't think it's working. Like, I'm pissed at this point. All of a sudden, gone, you know? And I look back at this deal and I'm like, man, I had stressed myself out, kind of that unknown, just things go wrong, stressed myself out to a point that I had to have surgery. Thank goodness it wasn't too serious. And just going through this whole episode with dealing with the crap, and it's like one of my horror stories. And I wanted to share that, take a little time just to share this personal story with you, because look, we're going to run into things, and you know, some things are going to be scary. Some things you're going to have fear, but you know what? You get through it. I think, you know, you use it as a learning lesson. So anyways, we can move on.
Awesome. Oh, I love the horror stories. I got all kind of people chatting about the horror stories and all your stuff. It's funny. Okay. David, pre-foreclosure. I've been associated with you guys now for over 3 years. Wow. Thanks, David. I even went to one of your live events in LA 3 years back. I'm so happy that y'all now do the Q&A session. It helps me to keep going, being I never got my first deal yet. I'm in New York City and I want to know, should I try to do pre-foreclosure deals here, or should I try to do it out of state? An investor I met told me that's tough in the city.
Yeah, well, number one, thanks, David. I mean, 3 years. Wow, that's awesome. You know, congrats, and thanks for hanging out with us. But I can tell you, I can't wait to get back on the road, by the way, and do some live events. So, you know, we have so much fun doing those, and it's just a different experience when you're there live. Like, I'm saying it right in front of you, and it's just totally different. So I can't wait to get back out when we can. But absolutely, yes, do pre-foreclosures in New York. Look, I would do pre-foreclosures in any state, because it is one of those strategies where you truly are helping someone out. At the same time, you can make a lot of money doing it. And I'm not just being greedy to take it for myself. I can structure deals where the owners can make a lot of money, because if they don't do anything, they're going to lose the house. Sheriff's going to show up, kick them out and all their stuff, and they're going to have to go find another place to live. And on top of that, they're going to have, you know, foreclosure on their credit report for 7 to 10 years. And it's going to be, a lot of people don't understand, it's going to be difficult for those people to even rent a house, because if you can't make the payments on your own house, why would you pay the landlord? So it could be very difficult for people in that situation. I could tell you, David, that one of my students bought a pre-foreclosure in the Bronx for 700 grand. 700 grand, put under contract for 700 grand. Didn't go get the 700 and pay her off. Turned around, fixed it up, and resold it for 1.2 million. And on top of that, the owner got a couple $100 grand out of that deal. Okay. That was a big deal. And I'm not saying they happen every single day, but when you start working the more expensive markets, there's just more upside to profits, versus working a pre-foreclosure that's, maybe $100,000 property. That's different than working $1 million property. So I would totally be in New York. And, as far as people telling you, don't do this, or, that's tough here type of thing, that's usually comes from people that either never have done it before or they messed it up. It's usually one of those two reasons. I can tell you, man, when I got started, how many people said, "You're crazy to quit your job and go do this full time. You don't even have any income." I heard that so much. I can assure you, those same people aren't saying that today. Okay. So don't always follow what anybody that's, wants to be negative Nancy here. I mean, look, I try to go the other way. So there's nothing in New York that's just going to stop you from doing a deal with a single owner that needs your help. Okay. Or in any other state. So hope that helps.
All right, next question from Denisa.
Yeah, just go ahead and read all of this. This is kind of long. So
I am. Let me get some of my windows here out of the way. Okay. Hello, Chris and Bo. How are you today? Doing great, Denisa. My question is in regards to an offer that I am preparing to make. The property is in pre-foreclosure and the bank is asking $265,141. The ARV is $335,666. The property needs approximately $40,000 in repairs. And according to REI Pro, my maximum offer needs to be $234,100, which is 69% of the ARV. With that in mind, I want to be competitive and offer the seller $268,500, which is 80% of the ARV, because that amount will allow her to pay off the outstanding balance. She will walk away with a little bit of cash in her pocket, and I want her to take a cash offer as opposed to my seller finance offer. How do you guys feel about that, about the 80% of the ARV for the reasons stated here? I want her to take my cash offer as opposed to my seller finance offer, because I do not understand what the quote calculate seller finance offer results really mean, and I do not understand how to perform the results thereof, nor the amortization schedule information either. If the seller accepts my seller finance offer, what steps do I execute next, and in what order, please? If it is all right with you both, can you take a look at the property together? The address is 501 St. Andrews Road. Finally, can we start the seller finance sales price at $320,500? The reason why is because the seller told me that she has an offer for $319,500 from another investor and wants to know if I can surpass that amount. To be clear, I'm asking these questions. Continue. Number one, how do you guys feel about that, about the 80% of the ARV for the reasons stated here? Number two, if the seller accepts my seller finance offer, what steps do I execute next and in what order, please? Number three, if it is all right with you both, can we take a look at the property together? Number four, can we start the seller finance sales price at $321,500? Whew.
That was a mouthful there.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah. So Denise, this could take about an hour just to review this particular deal, because there's some fundamental pieces in here that need to be explained in a way, because if the owner, number one, has an offer for the 319, the owner would be a fool not to take it. A fool. She'd be crazy, or he would be crazy. So that number one being said, the other part is I would never spend the cash to do this. I would go the seller finance route, but if they already have an offer for that amount, she should take it. To me, there's not enough equity in the deal. And if you think about, even if you took over the payments at where the balance is owed and you had to put 40 grand into the deal, I mean, you're close to the 300, you sell it for 335. What happens if the buyer brings a realtor? You're going to have to negotiate commission. There's going to be negotiations in general. I just don't know if there's enough money to be made here. And at the same time, why would she take, your offer when they have a much higher offer. This would take about an hour to explain. And, you know, deals like this are awesome to review and go over. I would recommend getting a coach. You can learn more about our coaching program. We'll put that up there. This is something like we have to spend a lot more time on. I want to, you know, and I don't want to eat up everyone's time tonight just to go over this one particular deal with the other questions that we have. So I do apologize, but there's actually a lot more explaining to do on this particular deal than those particular questions. So, but I have some good news for you. Because you did it and you're working, I will send you this awesome Folds of Honor movie. I don't know, a lot of people, me and Bo were executive producers of this awesome organization, by the way, that helps educate the spouses and the children of our fallen soldiers. And we would love to send that to you. All you have to do is just email us at the coaching at MyREIPro and just your name and your address. And I'm going to just make a note of that. So when I see it come in, and I'll be happy to get that out to you. But honestly, we need to do this the right way. And it's going to take a lot more than 10 minutes to go over this particular deal. So hopefully the movie will help, or you need to look into coaching because, you know, you're going to run into these situations, and we have to know how to do this in order and really understand the foundation of the strategy in itself, because this is where people start to get lost and they start going in the wrong direction. And then something bad happens. And the last thing you want to do is something to go bad with the owner, because they're already in a bad situation to begin with. So, but anyways, that's Bo's fault.
My fault. All right. Amita, general question. Hi, I'm having trouble finding comps or value in REI Pro for a commercial building. Is there any way on my REI Pro that this can be fixed? First, Amita, let me just say that, you know, in general, from a commercial building standpoint, it's going to be a little bit more challenging finding comps, or you're probably referring to even the estimated value, because commercial buildings aren't like single family homes where, you know, we have a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house. I've got 6 of them in an area, and or a bunch of them in an area, and 6 have sold. And, you know, the tax assessors don't always put the property characteristics to do some type of automated evaluation and comps and those kind of things. So it gets a little bit more challenging on commercial buildings, because a lot of the value of a commercial building is going to be what kind of money is it generating, whether it's, you know, tenant occupied or you have renters in there, what's the cap rate. So there's a lot of variables that go in that. So on these commercial buildings like this, if you're not finding the comp for a particular building, I would suggest getting with a realtor in the local area, especially one that works the commercial side of the business. They're going to have a really good idea in that area of what that commercial building is going to appraise for or go for. And of course, you could always do an appraisal, you know, as well. But definitely working with a local realtor that's in the commercial side is going to help you out a lot in that case. Next question, Montreal, seller financing. I want to focus the best way to get them to understand what I'm asking them without being so technical. Should I always offer a down payment? It seems like the script leaves the door open for them to say no if I ask them, do they need to cash out now, or would they be open to monthly payments? Also, can you recommend an answering service? Because I work full time and people seem not to want to leave messages anymore, what do you think about this? Thanks for all that you do.
Well, hey, Montreal. And let me tell you, seller financing is always a little difficult to explain. And that's the reason why I don't really explain it. The phone script now in REI Pro, it's perfect. And let me tell you why. Because when I'm talking with the owner and asking, would you be open to terms? It's planting a seed, because I already know that I can't explain in detail what a seller finance is in a short conversation. I have to build trust first. So I like to call it's like planting a seed. So building that relationship is going to start on the phone, but even if they're not open to taking payments, they just want a cash deal, they need to sell, I'm still going to go look at it because maybe it's not a seller finance, maybe it's a wholesale deal, maybe it's something else. Then when I'm at the property, I'll say things like, hey, I'll kind of repeat exactly what that phone script says. I'll say something like, now I know you want cash for the property, and this is after I looked at it. Would you be open to taking payments? I have a lot of sellers that like that option because I know that I can pay a little bit more for it. And it sets up seed number two. Now, I haven't even gone into detail exactly what it is, and nor will I unless they ask me, because I want them to think about it. I want them to meet me. I want them to build trust with me first, because there's no way in the world most people that want cash for a house are just in a phone conversation going to say, yeah, I'll do it. It's very rare that would happen. Okay. So either or, I still make the offer. I will have my cash offer and then the seller finance offer. And here's where it's perfect. As soon as I give them the cash offer, they, oh, no, I can't go that low. Well, that's the reason why I also wanted to give you the seller finance offer, because I can pay a little bit more for it. It's just I have to do it in monthly payments for X amount of time. But at the end of the day, you're going to make a lot more money doing it. So you have that low offer where immediately, if that was the only offer you made, they say no. But now I've given them something else. So in the phone call, I just slowly initiate it by saying, if do you need cash or would you accept, monthly payment short term? Even if they say no, I just need to get the words out. And then when I'm at the property, I'm going to repeat that conversation because I can pay a little bit more for it. And then even if they say no, I put it on paper, and you'll be surprised how many people, once they see it on paper, they change their mind. So don't look at this as hey, I'm going to get the deal on the phone call. It's a process, because if just like anybody, I mean, I would think any normal person listening to someone try to explain what a seller finance is, they probably put up their walls and just say, no, I don't want to do that. So, and then you have no shot whatsoever of actually getting them to accept the deal, because the hardest thing to do with a seller is try to convince them after they've said no. So I'm just slowly kind of introducing this. I like to call it's a process. So hopefully that helps. Now, as far as the answering service, we don't personally use them, but I know a lot of people use PAT Live, PAT Live. They really specialize in real estate investors and having answering service and people that can answer the calls and take your scripts and so forth. And there's other companies out there too, but that's I would say that's probably one of the bigger ones that I know a lot of people use.
Yep. All right. Hey, Chris, I want to do something real quick. I was only going to do one of these, but I think I'm going to do two instead.
You are?
Is that fair?
Is that two?
Well, you
drinks?
were talking about movies, and so I've got the Folds of Honor here movie, and so I'm going to ask two questions that are related, since we're on a movie theme here, and the first two persons that can answer it correctly, I'll send them one.
Do they need to type it in the chat or the Q&A?
So go ahead and open up your chat. I don't care if it's the chat window. You can do the Q&A window as well, and I'll just dismiss it. I don't care, whatever you have open and ready to type. So here's my two questions. Number one, name my character. Who am I in my dreadlock thing here? And number two, what movie was I in? We'll see.
Tough question. Now that was a tough real estate question right there.
Hey, all right. So, well, I'm going to, Marcus answered both of them in between, and Susan. So, okay, I'm not going to send you two copies of it, Marcus, because you were on Johnny on the spot there. But yes, it is Jack Sparrow with Pirates of the Caribbean. So we have Marcus
Is it Caribbean or is it
Pirates
Caribbean?
of the Caribbean.
I don't know.
Hey, I'm
Which
from
one is
down
it?
south. Huh?
Well, awesome. Yeah.
So that
Email
was
coaching at
Marcus on the
My
name.
REI Pro.
Yep, Marcus on the name and Susan Fleming for what movie?
Now, just speaking of that real quick, this is a DVD, okay? And nobody really plays DVDs, so we just kind of, I love the packaging in a DVD. But here's the cool part. When you open it up, you're actually going to get a digital code so you could see it, watch it in high depth, okay? Because that's really the only way you need to watch it. And you'll get to see me and Bo in the movie, so which
Yeah.
is kind of cool. It's very quick, by the way. I mean, it's nothing much, but it's very quick. All right.
Moving along.
Good job.
Sean, general question. I am buying 3 doubles as a package deal, hopefully closing within the next 6 weeks. The quote experts say we should put our real estate in an entity such as an LLC for protection. I understand you are not attorneys or CPAs, but what do you suggest? Note, I do not have the funds yet to get these entities but was possibly planning on doing so by the end of the year of next year. Plus, do you suggest I have an LLC for each one of them or one for all?
Yes. Hey, Sean. And number one, congrats on the deal, right? I mean, that's pretty cool. Yes. Let me give you some technical answers of how I would do it. Yes, you should put them in an LLC and even a land trust. But if you don't have the funds, don't do it. Sometimes, I tell people, it's like, look, I did 46 deals my first year and I didn't even know what an LLC was. This is when I did it. Sometimes you're just not in a position. You need to go make some money. And then when you go make the money, guess what? You go get those things that you should have, right? And increase your marketing and setting up your LLCs and all that good stuff. But here's my recommendation as far as, your company should be in an LLC. Hey, we're going to buy this property. What you don't want to do is put all your eggs in one basket, meaning one LLC. But a lot of that really comes down to the amount of equity. It's in case, I don't even want to give you a worst case scenario because I can only think of one. It's not really a good story. So, if somebody were to sue you and try to take your property, they're not going to take your property if you have no equity, number one. But if you have several properties that have a lot of equity and you put them all together, they could take all of them. And that's where they talk about setting up separate LLCs or put it in a land trust where you have a beneficiary that doesn't even need to be disclosed. That would even be better. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to the equity in the property. Because if there's no equity, don't worry about it. If there is equity, we need to worry about it. So kind of look at it from that point of view, but don't stress out. Go do the deal. And then down the road, you can always transfer it or move it and do the things that you need to do.
Absolutely. Yes. And I put all my stuff in an LLC, most of it from the CPA and the attorneys. It's asset protection, like Chris said. So, all right, let's see. Brooke. Hi, Chris and Bo. Assuming the moratorium is lifted on foreclosures as predicted in January, how should we be positioning ourselves, or which strategies would you recommend will be the best to utilize? What will you be focusing on? I am really interested in lease options, and I believe there will be an opportunity there. I would love to hear your input. The sessions are great and very helpful. Thanks for all that you guys do. Well, I really appreciate, Brooke, that question. Now, here's the thing. The moratorium will be lifted at some point, but here's the truth from my point of view. All those people, if they're in foreclosure and pre-foreclosure before the moratorium, look, those people are still in trouble today. So forget about the moratorium for just a second. As an investor, what we're wanting to do is go in and help these people out of this very tough situation, that they're facing. Now, the moratorium, in my opinion, gives us a little bit more time, actually. I know, in Georgia, they don't even release this stuff to about 3 weeks before the auction date. So we got to get in really quickly to work this deal and save these people from foreclosure. So right now you really have a lot more time to go in and help these people. So I would be marketing them now like ASAP. Okay. So definitely you need to be working these. Now, as far as lease options, heck yeah, I love lease options personally. I've done numerous lease option deals. So I love both of those strategies. You should be working both of those strategies, but if you can't work both, because maybe you're just getting started, you're new, then maybe just pick one and get really good at that one and add that tool to your toolbox. And then we move on to the next one. But definitely, yeah, both of those are really good strategies. And heck, like Chris said, look, some of the biggest deals happen between now and the end of the year. So don't fall asleep. There's going to be other investors out there like me that are going to snatch them up if you're not doing them.
Well, and the other thing to add to that, Bo, is watch. This is going to happen. I guarantee it. These penalties are adding up.
Oh yeah.
So, and they're gonna throw it on the owner. I'm gonna tell you right now. And as every month that goes by, I guarantee you, there's even more penalties that they're gonna go after.
Interest fees.
Which is just gonna prove, why they're taking back the property. But the problem for you as the investor when they do that is, you just think every single day that this person's in this situation, the less profit's going to be made, or the less chance you can even structure the deal. So I would be in these things very quickly. And I know we've been working, just reviewing a couple of these pre-foreclosures here in the last few days with Bobby. And you're finding that, this equity amounts kind of end up ruining the deal. So the longer you wait on these penalties and stuff, they're going to stick it to the owners. I'm just telling you. So we got to get in there and do this very quickly.
Well, Chris, I've heard you say something a lot, especially when we're out on the road and you're out teaching live. It's almost like if you know how to do this strategy, you want to help these people because that you can go in if the numbers are right. You can go in and help them. And so if you know how to do pre-foreclosures, don't wait till the moratorium's over. I'd get out there and do them now.
Well, and to add, you feel obligated when you know how to do it. You just can't let it, I don't think I'll do it this time, But pre-foreclosure is definitely a great strategy. And, it doesn't really matter what's going on right now. Pre-foreclosure strategy is great all year long, and so is a lease option.
All right, question from Susan on lease options. Most videos I have been watching lately on lease options state that you have to give the seller something down as an option consideration, such as $10 to $100. I have not done this. I only collect on option consideration fee from them before they move in and in 1 month's rent. I can see if it's a deal breaker, but does this matter from a legal standpoint? Confused.
Well, hey, Susan, the good thing is you're doing the deals, right?
Out there working.
That's the start. But let me speak in general first, and that is every contract has to have consideration, and that could be love, money, or affection. Okay. We use money in most cases, but if you were going to pass this down to, a family member, you don't really have to put money down. You could put love down technically. So, but here's the thing. If you are in the middle of these deals, you are the tenant buyer with the owner. Okay. So technically you have to have some type of consideration. Otherwise the contract is not binding. And when it's not binding, that's when things could go wrong. Now, is that going to be challenged by the seller? Probably not. They'd have to spend thousands of dollars to hire an attorney to argue the point that you have no consideration in this deal. Okay. At the end of the day, the seller just wants the payments covered and the house sold, right? But from a legal standpoint, you have to have consideration. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Has anyone ever really challenged it? I've never experienced it. So I don't think, the deals that you have going on, but in the future, I would totally, even if it's $10, and we always talk about no money down deals. especially with lease options. And it's not that we're not giving the seller money. It's just we're not using our money. I'll take the buyer's money to help pay that, even if it's $10. You have to make it binding. In order to do that, you have to have consideration in a real estate contract. So yes, in the future, definitely put this in there. Okay. That was it.
That was it.
Yep.
Oh, last slide there. Okay.
And like I said before, a lot of people ask 3 or 4 questions, and we ask your most pressing question, just so we could get to everybody. We try to stay within the hour, and then for those of you that join us that didn't have a question, maybe to submit, but you have a question now, we'd like to leave a little bit of time as well. So, do we have any questions?
We do have lots of questions.
Okay.
Real quick.
I
think we want to, are we doing any more treats right this minute?
Oh, yes. How about we do a big one?
You want to do a big?
Yeah, new car.
Huh?
Who wants a new car? I'm just kidding. All right, so
everybody's raising their hand and chatting on that one.
Check this out, though. This is good. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see that. So this is my explosive marketing home study course right here. And if you check, we don't even sell it. Okay. So that's valued at $500, just that course right there. Somebody's going to get that course tonight. Okay. But I have a question, and you're going to have to type it in. And I hope that you are honest answering this question that I'm going to ask.
Otherwise, karma may get your next deal may take it back away from you.
So, yeah, it's always like, oh, it's coming back. It's coming back on me, But all right, here's the question. And I'll repeat it just so everyone has it. Who here, and again, only the people that are on this live call, when I put this replay out, we're not taking your answers, okay? So it's only the people that are actually on here right now. Who has made the largest check, meaning payday, where REI Pro has helped you do the deal? What is the largest paycheck you have made using REI Pro?
And does that matter?
I know it sucks if you're a newbie, but
well, what if it doesn't matter if they found through the Lead Pro leads, and then they use the offer system? Money. What's any criteria? Just they used REI Pro to do the deal.
Yep.
Okay.
You made money doing the deal. What is the largest deal someone's done that's on here? Well, that's why I say you got to be honest. Somebody could have lied at this point, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll keep monitoring. Got a lot of people. Oh, we got somebody coming in already.
What we got?
Whew, okay. Let me scroll. Let me make this window a little bit bigger here. Of course, we got a lot of people that say, "Hey, I'm just new, but I know I'm going to make money from REI Pro soon."
Positive attitude.
We have. Right, let's see. I hope I don't murder your name. I think it's Ellie. 20,000.
All right, we're at 20.
We have a 7,000 from a lease option.
Good.
We have 10,000 use Lead Pro.
Okay.
We have a 43,000.
Uh-oh, that one's winning so far.
We got a $300 a month cash flow deal going on from using REI Pro. Is
that it?
Yeah, I think the 43,000 one there is going to take it so far from what I'm seeing. I'm having to scroll up and down through all these.
Who did the 43?
Jason Sims.
Jason, if you email us at coaching@myreipro.com, make sure, put your name, put your mailing address. Actually, you know what? Send me the email. I'm going to send you a digital copy of it. That way you can immediately have it. I'll send you a Dropbox link. Then you can download a copy of that. Do not sell the course. Okay. But this is a great course because it teaches you how to write the marketing with, my 6 steps. It's not necessarily where you market if you don't know what to say in the marketing first. And this has helped not just real estate investors. This has helped so many businesses out there. So I can't wait to actually launch it and get it out to you guys. I will probably do it fairly soon, but I'm going to send you a digital copy. If you could email us your name, Jason, there, and we'll email you a link and you can download it. So
perfect. He says,
awesome. You are welcome.
Says, thanks so much. All right,
well,
and we're going to take some live questions. I had like a plethora of people in the chat window all of a sudden with that stuff that was going on. So I know there's a few questions that have appeared in the chat window, but now they're way up the list. I don't really want to hunt and peck for them. So if you typed it in the chat window, please open up the Q&A window and put your question in over there so I'll be able to get to it.